Mark. Oh, sorry. I can't clap very loud because I have these on. Ready? Hello and welcome back to the Outdoor Minimalist YouTube channel. My name is Meg Carney and I'm the author and host of Outdoor Minimalist, and today I am here with my trusty companions Leo and Ash, and we would like to talk a little bit about how we got into bikejoring. So I want to preface this by saying I am not a dog trainer or a dog professional. I also am not really that good at bikejoring. It's just something that I really wanted to learn about and I wanted to start doing with my dogs. And for those of you that don't know what bikejoring is, it's a type of dry land mushing. So you can kind of see the setup here. Leo's sitting down, but essentially he runs in front of the bike and pulls as I also ride on the bike and pedal. It's really a great exercise for dogs like Leo because they're bred for mushing activities, and it's a way for him to burn off some energy and harness some of his natural instincts that he was bred to do. In my last video about bikejoring, not the last video on my page, I talked a little bit about the things that Leo and I did to get ready to be on the bike because we practiced for several months, the cues, pulling, just things in general on daily walks and hikes and in our backyard before he was ever attached to the bike. And then when he got attached to the bike, really all I would do is I'd walk along with the bike and he would get comfortable walking in front of the bike because it isn't super natural for them to be right in front of something like a bike when the wheels are moving and there's noises behind them. A lot of dogs can get kind of spooked. Leo didn't have too much of a problem. He was kind of indifferent to the bike, but we spent several weeks just kind of getting him used to that so he wouldn't be freaked out when we would be going at a faster speed. And then once he became used to that, I met up with a woman that is more well-versed in bikejoring. I met her on a bikejoring Facebook group, basically, and she lived relatively close to me, so we met in the middle. And I know this works for a lot of dogs, especially ones that are more like prey-driven or competitive. And so her team was able to run in front of us, and Leo was able to chase and follow. And that really kind of like instilled in his mind, like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing in front of the bike. And so some of the commands that I use for Leo, which are different from traditional mushing, which you can just use whatever works for you and your dog. You don't have to use gi and ha, but you can if you want to. To turn, we say left and right. So if we want to go a certain direction, I say Leo left, Leo right. If it's a really, really fast turn, I say left, 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 like really fast, just because it kind of like amps him up more and he hears the word repetitively. Another important one that I taught you in the last video is line out, and that's just for him to prep the line, and he loads the line so he knows that I'm ready to get started. The other ones that are important include how to start. So like a starting command, you can just say, let's go, which I do tend to stick to that one, but when I want Leo to pick up the speed, which I'll also use as a cue to get started, I'll say up, up. And so I used a short word like that. So if I want him to really, really amp up his speed, I can go up, 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 kind of the same thing as left. And I learned that from a book called The Other End of the Leash. And essentially it was how to help dogs either increase their speed or decrease their speed. And it has to do with like the tone of your voice. And so that's why I would do like really fast tones back to back. And when I want him to slow down, I say slow, and it's just like one long tone. And slow is just like a slow down your pace. If I want him to completely stop, I will load my brakes completely and say whoa. But obviously I say it whoa to kind of like spread out that tone so he knows like we're slowing down. Other cues that are really, really important for Leo specifically, but I think any dog, are things to keep him on track. So a lot of mushers will use the phrase on by. I did not teach him that phrase, but it essentially is a phrase like leave it, just to like keep their attention on what they're doing. And because he already knows leave it for walks and hikes, I kept with that one. So if he sees like a rabbit or he wants to go in water, I say leave it, and then he keeps on track. If he starts to want to go a different direction, I say keep on, and that just means keep on your path, and keep going straight. So those are kind of like the main cues that I used. And if you want to talk a little bit about gear, I can. I showed the mushing harness in the last video. There's a lot of different versions of that. I use a specific antenna, which I can link the brand that I use because it came with the attachment point for my bike. And the leash and the attachment for my bike, I think, also came in that package. It was a really good beginner's package for me because I didn't have to seek out each individual piece. It just all came together. Like, if you're interested in bikejoring, this is the package to get. So I can make sure I link that in the episode description below if you want to check out the exact gear that I'm using. But one thing that I'll say, if you don't buy specific gear and you want to use some things you already have, if you're using a leash for any type of mushing, make sure that it has a bungee on it. So when they load the line, it doesn't add too much force to their body and is a bit more comfortable for you and the dog. A couple of logistical things for your dog. One thing I was concerned about is Leo's safety in general. So I wanted to make sure, one, I wasn't going to run him over with the bike. That's why I spent so much time getting him accustomed to the bike and the cues before we ever really got started. Accidents do happen, but I try my best to prevent them as much as possible. My older dog, Ash, was really helpful in the training because he was able to run alongside the bike and kind of keep Leo in check. And then other things to be mindful of, you'll want to regularly check your dog's paws for injuries. If you run on harder surfaces like asphalt or gravel, you won't want to go as far as distances. And when we first got started, I made sure I took tons and tons of breaks with Leo. I'd only run for a couple of minutes. We'd stop for about 10 minutes, get some water, let him recharge, because it takes a while for them to build up their endurance. And the last thing that I'll say is you'll want to be cautious about what they're eating and drinking while they are running. So for a large breed dog, I do not recommend feeding them an entire meal before you get started. A small snack may be okay, but I tend to just bring treats along with me. High value treats right now are bread for Leo. And that is because if certain dogs that have larger chest cavities, they can get something called bloat, and that is deadly to dogs. So you want to avoid feeding them directly before high endurance and high energy, like high intensity activities, and not feeding them directly after either. So be mindful of that. During the breaks that we would take, I would also make sure that he stayed hydrated. For some dogs like Leo, if he's getting too amped up, he has a hard time drinking water. So I always bring something with that I can bait the water with that he will entice him to drink it. And I don't have it on me right now, it's actually in my van, but it is like a bone broth concentrate made for dogs by the Nulo brand, which I can also link that in the description below. And you can just squirt it into a little bit and a couple of drops into their water bowl. And I mean, it just tastes like bone broth to them. So whatever flavor entices them the most, I would recommend that. I do know some of my friends in Washington that do this more competitively. Their dogs really like cans of tuna. So they'll bring little tuna pouches and toss some of that into the water to entice their dogs to drink the water that way. So those are just a couple of things that I've learned. I will say it was helpful for me because I had no idea how this activity worked when I started. It was really helpful for me to join an online community that I could ask experts in mushing a lot of different questions. So all the things that I just explained, I learned from other people in a Facebook group. I was able to just post questions, join their meetups, attend their classes, and learn about the ins and outs of mushing, and also be a part of a community so we could do the activity together. Good. If you like this type of content, especially content about me and my dogs, make sure you let me know in the comments below, and I will try to keep up with the comments and ensure that we're making content that interests all of you. If you are enjoying the YouTube channel, hit the like button down below and be sure to subscribe so you never miss any of our upcoming content. The best way to stay in the know with all Outdoor Minimalist content is to head over to our website and subscribe to our weekly newsletter. That way you stay up to date with our weekly episodes on the podcast every Monday, along with all of the other content. You can find all the information for the email newsletter on our website at theoutdoorminimalist.com.